The new Insta360 X4 is finally here and we've had a blast testing it out. But you may be wondering if it's really worth the upgrade from the X3 or even the X2. Well, stay tuned as we will test out all three devices against each other and see if there are any major improvements and if it's really worth that upgrade. To start things off, we will be comparing the video quality when shooting on single lens and in 360. When in single lens mode, we set all of the devices to 30 FPS with the X3 and X4 in 4K and the X2 in 2K. The X2 is also able to shoot in 50 FPS, the X3 in 3K 60 FPS, and the X4 in 4K 60 FPS. It's instantly clear that the X4 has major improvements as it's looking the clearest. Although the X3 also shoots in 4K, the X2 is looking slightly better. It does have a considerable amount of noise in the sky and it isn't the sharpest, but somehow the X3 isn't looking too good. The colors are a bit too saturated and the cloud in the sky is a slightly different shape to the cloud in the other devices. It also has a strange black outline which makes it look kind of artificial. All three videos are slightly underexposed with pretty harsh shadows across my features. The X4 has the most natural color tones while the X3 is more saturated with a slightly warmer hue. The X2 seems to be a little overexposed in the sky, specifically when you look at the clouds. Again, it's obvious that the X4 has the clearest results, while the X2 looks the most pixelated. This becomes very noticeable when you focus on my face. Moving on to 360 mode, here the X4 can shoot in 8K, which is pretty crazy. That means that each lens delivers crisp 4K footage, so you have top quality all around no matter the angle. We set the X2 and X3 to 5.7K 30 FPS and the X4 at 8K 30 FPS. I gotta say that the new X4 is looking pretty great, and having that 8K option makes a huge difference as the footage looks sharp, crisp, and super detailed. The X2 also isn't looking bad, and it's giving off very realistic color tones with well-balanced exposure and a good amount of sharpness. Interestingly enough, the X3 looks the grainiest of all, and it has a very warm hue all over, which does not look too appealing. The quality isn't as sharp, and there's overexposure in the sky, which loses a lot of details. In this second example, the X4 continues to impress as the video looks the most natural with really good exposure and color accuracy. The X2 and X3 have both done a decent job, but if you look very closely, you can see that they both have noise present in the sky, whereas the X4 doesn't. The X2 also seems to have slight distortion happening on the edges of the frame, which isn't ideal. This is only slightly present in the X3. Let's take a closer look at the design of each device and see what improvements have been made throughout the years. Of course, the main thing you notice straight away is the large display we now have on the X4, which is actually really nice as you have a much better view of what you're shooting. This does mean that the device is larger and slightly bulkier than its predecessors, but it's still compact enough to throw into your pocket. It also has a quick menu button and a button to switch between modes similar to the X3, which is very convenient when on the go. However, the buttons are generally sometimes a little stubborn to press and can require you to use your nails. You now also have the option of a lens guard though, which comes in handy to avoid scratches when carrying the camera around or during extreme action shots. The X2 has the smallest display of all, which can sometimes be a little fiddly to navigate, and obviously you can't see as well what you're shooting. It also lacks a quick menu button and doesn't have a quick button for switching between modes. The X3 is in between the two with a decent sized display and a little heavier than the X2, but lighter than the X4. Another important part of action cameras is of course stabilization. All of the devices seem to have very similar results with no major differences. They all look smooth with a slight wobble, but here's an example of how the X4 looks when compared to another action camera such as the GoPro Hero 12. The Insta360 X4 manages to beat the GoPro. The footage is buttery smooth and is perfectly stabilized. Normally the GoPro doesn't shake that much, but we wanted to see how well the Insta360 copes with a hardcore shaky run. All cameras also have a horizon lock. This means that the camera always remains stable horizontally no matter how much you turn the camera. You can also tilt the camera up and down, and thanks to the 360 recording, even here the image remains completely straight. This is especially great for action shots. For the first round of slow-mo, we set the devices to the highest resolution with the highest frame rate possible. Naturally, the X4 looks the sharpest. It also handles direct sunlight the best out of the three. The X2 and the X3 aren't very sharp, as well as the X2 looking slightly dull due to the lack of saturation. Generally, the X4 looks the most natural when compared to the others, and the slow motion looks very smooth. Next, we set the devices to the highest frame rate with the highest resolution possible. The X2 and X3 are pixelated, while the X4 looks the most natural, as expected. If you take a closer look at the sky, it's obvious that the X4 handles the light perfectly. I am currently here in the center of Berlin, and I thought, why don't we do a quick audio test to see how each device performs. Let's start over here with the X2. How is the built-in microphone on this one? I'm very curious to see how much it has developed throughout the years. Moving on to the X3, how are we sounding over here? It's a pretty busy area, not so much wind, so let's see. And finally, we've got the X4 over here, the latest and newest addition to the Insta360. How do we like it? Has it improved over the years? Let's discuss the results. I've gotta say that there's definitely been improvement over the years, as the X4 sounds very clear and crisp. The X2 has the most muffled sound, with the X3 already showing major improvements. The sound is still a tad muffled, but much clearer and direct than the X2. Now comes the fun part, and the reason the Insta360 devices are so unique compared to other action cameras. Let's take a closer look at the special modes and features that you can enable with AI in the Insta360 app with just a few simple clicks. Time-lapse allows you to capture a series of photos at set intervals over a period of time and then stitches them together to create a video that shows the passage of time quickly. Time shift allows you to capture stabilized footage and manipulate time during playback. Bullet time is a unique feature that allows you to capture dynamic matrix-style shots by rotating the camera around a subject while recording video. Next, we experimented with spin around, which allows you to capture immersive panoramic video footage by rotating the camera in a complete circle. Cinelapse is a really cool one that allows you to capture cinematic time-lapse videos with smooth panning and motion, and it looks really great to create unique intros to your videos. One I really enjoyed testing is Clone Loop, which allows you to create visually striking videos where multiple instances of a subject or action appear simultaneously in the same frame. The cool thing about the X3 and the X4 is that they both have gesture control, so even if your devices are super far away on this long stick, you can still start and stop recording just by lifting your hand like this, and they will detect that. Unfortunately, the X2 doesn't have this feature. You can take photos with the devices in good resolution. The X3 and X4 in 72 megapixels and the X2 in 18 megapixels. You can also create a small planet or a normal photo, whatever you like, and it looks really cool. When it comes to battery, the X2 has a 1630 mAh battery with a runtime of approximately 80 minutes when shooting in 5.7K at 30 FPS. The X3 has a slightly improved battery of 1800 mAh with a similar runtime of approximately 81 minutes when shooting in 5.7K at 30 FPS. On the X4, the battery has definitely been expanded, as you now have a 2290 mAh capacity with a runtime of approximately 135 minutes when shooting in 5.7K at 30 FPS. At the time of this recording, the Insta1 X2 individually is priced at $299.99, the X3 at $399.99, and the X4 at $499.99, with one detachable standard lens protector. So is it really worth the upgrade? Well, it really depends on your preferences and use cases. Of course, the X4 has had some major improvements, so naturally, if you require top quality results in all areas, then we highly recommend opting for the latest edition. The 8K quality does make a huge difference, and you also have a nice touch with the lens guards provided that protect your lenses from general wear and tear. However, if you're looking for a 360 camera that will give you decent results and you want to have the option to use an invisible selfie stick plus get access to a large amount of awesome AI features, then the X2 and X3 are also a good choice. The great thing about the Insta360 app and AI features is that the majority of them are updated to work on all of the devices, so no matter which one you choose, you'll have access to create super cool content. As always, we will leave direct links to all of the devices mentioned in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe to be a part of our Versus community if you aren't already. With that being said, we will see you in the next video, and until then, take care.